Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, I'm Josh Hayes, and this is MMOPINION, a bite-sized show where we talk about topics relevant to the MMORPG gaming landscape, and I give my opinion on them. Each week we'll look at another question or point of view within the industry and analyse it. These videos are kept as short as I can make them, but long enough to hopefully generate a discussion. If you have a question or theory you want discussed, leave it in the comments below, and as usual, a massive thank you to my Patreon supporters and Twitch subs who make my channel possible. Right, let's begin. Today I'd like to address the opinion, held by several older MMO players, that new MMO games just aren't as fun as the old ones. That the whole genre was better in the old days. I'd also like to explain why you are constantly searching for a new MMO and never quite finding the right one. Now, the rather prevalent school of thought that back in the good old days MMOs were more enjoyable, more social, and some would say more real than the games we have today is quite a popular one. I've read no end of comments from older gamers who like to berate the newer generation for having the audacity to enjoy games like World of Warcraft or Runescape or The Elder Scrolls because they're just not as good as the old stuff. So let's look at the common arguments for this and then I'll explain my thoughts. There is a belief, among many older MMO gamers especially, that older MMOs such as Everquest, Tibia, Asherons Call or Ultima Online were the peak of the genre. The pinnacle of the social online adventure game, and everything that came after was rubbish. This is generally argued to have happened because of games becoming easier, travel between places taking less time, endgame items being less effort to achieve, or the appearance of guides and walkthroughs trivializing the mechanics of dungeons and bosses. And while there is absolutely a discussion to have on all of those, I don't actually feel that's the most important aspect for why people feel the way they do. Because I don't actually think the mechanical changes within the genre are the biggest factor here. The advancements, the simplification, the changes, while important, they're not the reason you're not having as much fun anymore. I've already made videos discussing fast travel and high graphics and the concept of endgame and how these design decisions can negatively affect gameplay, but even with all that said, I honestly think the single biggest factor in your enjoyment of an MMO is the lifestyle you have outside of the game. Now, if you want to immediately argue back and scream, no, games are getting worse, that's understandable, but please just consider the next 10 minutes. Then if you still disagree after my reasoning, leave a comment below explaining why. I spoke to many people who all argued that modern MMOs were dumbed down and easy and less fun than before, although fun is a subjective thing and almost impossible to define. So I asked them to explain to me their greatest experience or adventure or memory within an MMO, their favourite moment of the genre. And I'd like you to do this now as well. Just think, what was the most fun you ever had within an MMO? If you could go back and relive a moment in your MMO life, what would it be? A snapshot, a specific time period, and more importantly, why? I've asked this question to many people, and the stories I've heard back from them absolutely warm my heart because they're always amazing. They're always passionate retellings of beautiful memories. Some examples. Back in high school, you'd have finished a hard day's work, you'd have run home, taken off your school uniform, put on your comfy clothes, turn the computer on, takes a while to boot up because it's old, you'd make a cup of tea or a cup of hot chocolate, you'd grab a biscuit while it's loading, and then you'd sit down with your guild and you'd talk to your mates from class and you'd raid. Or after work, when the boss is gone, you and your mates would boot up Everquest and chat while you tried to farm some mobs in the shared overworld. Or when you'd play an all-nighter, and you'd only go to bed when the sun starts to rise and the birds begin to chirp. And I'm exactly the same. I've had all these experiences on various games, and this is where the psychology comes into it. I do not believe it was the game alone that made those memories great. It was the combination of your lifestyle factors. The game you have fantastic memories playing was a part of your life at the time, but it wasn't the source of your happiness alone. When I ask people about their best MMO memory, the vast majority tell me something that happened years ago, often when they were at school or college. Very few people tell me of something that happened yesterday or last week. And I started to wonder why this was, and the answer is all of the factors outside of the game. You were younger. You likely had much more free time, and playing for 8 or 9 hours wasn't really an issue. Your bills may have been lower, if you had bills at all. Your responsibilities, fewer. And you likely had a much tighter friendship group, because in school or college it's much easier to make friends than in adult life, be that in the game or people you see face to face. The game you were playing at the time was a binding agent. It brought together all of these factors and was able to give you the best experience precisely because of your lifestyle. The game would demand teamwork, which was fine because you had friends. It demanded time and dedication, and that was okay as well because you had nothing to do outside of playing. The game was perfectly suited to fill the space in your lifestyle, regardless of what game it was. And now you're older, friendship groups drift apart, the hours your job demands get longer, and the free time you have gets shorter. Real life issues, from health to adult responsibilities, are creeping in, and the demands of the MMO genre, time, close friendships, and dedication, well, they're just much harder to meet. Now, if you believe I'm wrong, and you still firmly think that older MMOs are simply better and will always give you a better experience, then try this. Go and play an old MMO again. But here's the catch. You can't play one you've played before, because it's essential that we remove nostalgia from this test. If you spent your youth playing Everquest, then playing Everquest today will bring back memories of friendship, companionship, late nights, early mornings. It will enhance the game now because of the power of nostalgia, and that's precisely my point. Because back then, the game wasn't always the most important bit. It was the fact that the game existed during a time your life was better. You had friendship groups to share it with. You had free time to spend on it. And your effort spent on the game would be rewarded. Truth be told, you could have replaced the game with any other game, and you'd still have friendship, free time, and hard work, meaning reward. Play a game you've never played. If you were a hardcore Everquest fan, go and play Ultima. It's still online right now. If you spent your time in classic Warcraft, go and play old school Runescape. If you used to play Tibia, go and play Meridian 59, the first 3D MMO. It's on Steam right now and it's free. Because you will get people from absolutely all of these games telling you they are the best game ever, and they are the one true MMO, and they've never found a game as good as them. But the reality, and what they actually mean when they say this, is there was a period in their life when they had a better life, and playing this game was a thing they did during it. If you have fantastic memories of playing an MMO during a period of time in your life when you had more free time, more money, and less responsibilities, of course it's going to make the game seem far more fun. Your first MMO is your first love. It's exciting and new and novel, and everything is heightened because it's a real adventure. You'll never forget your first love. And just as in the world of dating, as you go through new relationships and meet new people, the passion may fade and the spark may not be the same, and you do wonder, what do I need to do to recapture this? Why isn't the person I'm talking to now making me feel like the person I was speaking to years ago? And the answer is because it's not actually the person's responsibility the feeling was that intense. It was the fact it was new and novel in your life. So many gamers tell me they're looking forward to the next big thing, the next big game they are certain will recapture that feeling they used to have, but they don't realize it's not the game that will do that. It's the lifestyle that they have around the game. Many gamers right now are having just as much fun as you did back in the day playing new games right now, as we speak, as you watch this video. There are people chatting with guild friends on Runescape, pulling all-nighters on Neverwinter, and raiding until the early morning on Warcraft. There are children gaming with their parents on the Elder Scrolls, or families racing chocobos in Final Fantasy XIV. Because while your lifestyle may have changed from the best of days, they are still firmly in them. And the games out now are just as capable at providing fantastic memories as your favourite game was back then. The games themselves are neither superior nor inferior. They are simply providing the same binding agent. They are allowing the same creation of memories that you have already had to a new generation of people. If you're sat there right now and you're jaded and fed up and convinced that the MMO landscape of today just isn't as fun as it was back then ask yourself what would make it fun again? What would make you enjoy playing an MMO? And then be really honest and ask yourself, is it something the game would have to do, or something that would have to change about your life? Imagine you were able to play the game, the MMO that you loved as a kid, but you had to play it solo for the rest of your life. Would you want to do that? Or would you rather try a new MMO with a new group of friends? Because most people value the interaction more than the game itself, which just goes to show you, it was never the game that made it fun. The MMO genre isn't dying, no matter who may say otherwise, and I need to make a whole video about that in the future, but for now let's focus on what people are missing. Waiting for a new MMO to come out to try and recapture those past memories isn't going to happen, because it was never about just the game. If you're doing that, then you are looking to the future hoping to recapture the past. You are hoping a game makes you feel how you used to feel when it was never the game in the first place that made you feel that way. It was everything the game allowed to happen. If your favourite memory gaming, regardless of the game, was chatting with your friends, then your friends made the memory. If the favourite memory was pushing through a tough dungeon, then challenge and perseverance made that one. If you have good memories of playing from sunrise to sunset, then actually it's free time and a messed up sleep schedule that made that possible. The game itself was never the star of the show, because all MMOs are just time sinks and facilitators for social interaction. They're just pixels flashing on a screen. And they're all both great and awful in their own special ways. It's everything around the one you choose to play that made it truly special. MMO gamers today have access to more MMO games than ever before, from AAA titles like Final Fantasy XIV to mobile games like old school Runescape. We've got more ways to form guilds and communicate. Facebook, Reddit, Discord. The tools to create and manage guilds and groups. Get everyone together at the same place at the same time. There are hardcore survival games, light-hearted comedy games, and everything in between. You cannot recapture your first love, but that doesn't mean other people aren't experiencing theirs right now. And you cannot go back to how your life used to be, but it is still absolutely possible, given the huge choice we have now, to find an MMO you will enjoy. Many people get angry at me when I review or say a game they enjoyed as a kid is bad, and this is strange because I'm not saying you're wrong for enjoying it. I'm saying the game itself isn't high quality, not that you didn't have fun. Your fun is still as valid as the day you had it, and the people having fun now, even in a different game to the one you played, they are valid too. And that's just the point. The quality of the game, the mechanical choices it makes, and the systems it uses, the graphics, the sound, and the level design are all irrelevant in the memory you have of that fun time. The game you played as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult, you'll be nostalgic for it. You played it with friends or family. You've got an emotional connection to it. You spent time learning it and were good at it, and it will stick with you forever as an adventure you went on, and no one can take that away, no matter how good or bad the game was. If you think the golden age of the MMO is dead and gone just because the game you enjoyed is no longer the same and you're not able to recapture that joy because of your lifestyle, I will disagree with you. I would argue we are living in the golden age of MMOs right now. Ultima Online is still online. Everquest has time-locked progression servers so you can play through every expansion in order. Old school RuneScape is still around, and so is RuneScape 3. Meridian 59 is on Steam. Both versions of Warcraft are out, both retail and classic. Guild Wars 2 is mostly free. The Elder Scrolls Online goes on sale super often, and Final Fantasy XIV now has a free trial. We have more ways to have fun than ever before. But this, and this is the key point to all of this, your lifestyle has changed. There is still fun to be had, and there are still fantastic games being made and played by millions of people right now. But whether you can enjoy them, as you used to, depends on what kind of lifestyle you used to have and what kind you have now. The MMO genre has changed. There's no doubt about that. But we have changed more. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me in this episode of MMOPinion. If you've liked the video, then drop a like or sub to the channel for more MMO stuff. Ring the bell so you don't miss a single future video. A massive thank you to my Patreon supporters and Twitch subs. You can support the Patreon from only £1 a month, and you can find links in the video description to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter, and our Discord channel. And as always, have a great day.